Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unpopular Hour. I'm your host, Matt Clark. Happy MLK, Martin Luther King Day, for everybody who got the day off. Congratulations to you. For those of you who had to work, sorry for you. Uh, Today, we're going to talk about the NFL and what happened over this weekend. Just kind of giving a wrap up of what I thought happened, who won, who lost. Of course, we will be talking about the Cowboys debacle at the end and that. But first of all, let's talk about the games they're kind of easy. You look at first of all the Bills and the Patriots. Complete mismatch. I predicted that the Bills would beat the Patriots. Mac Jones, he's young, and for him to even say he's MJ23, I still just think that's hilarious. But anyway, uh, I want to say that, or Mac Jones 10, MJ10, I'm sorry, MJ10. I want to say that he's a rookie quarterback. I mean, he's going against one of the best defenses in the NFL. I'm not sure exactly what people were expecting from that. I didn't think that the Bills or that the Patriots had a chance. I thought that they would make it a little bit closer because the last game was pretty close. Josh Allen had to make a great fourth down play. On the end, made a nice move on the defensive end to gain the extra yards to get the fourth down to beat the Patriots last time. So I figured it'd be a close game. I did not think that they would go a second game without a punt. Now, this goes against Bill Belichick, who, I mean, arguably is one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest coach in the history of the NFL, especially defensive minded. I saw a deal the other day that when Tom Brady's rookie or his first Super Bowl run, he made two. He only had two touchdowns in those four games in the playoffs. Two touchdowns in those four games. So I I thought that the defense would be better, but who am I to second guess Bill Belichick? I think that Josh Allen just might have his number. He's done a fantastic job as handling the Patriots' pressure and figuring out what exactly Bill Belichick does. And so anyway, I want to say that Josh Allen did a great job. He handled his business with them. He did everything that he needed to do as far as passing the ball, as far as running the ball, doing all the things. The defense just had, I mean, New England had no answer for Buffalo's defense. Zero answer for that. Their opponent this weekend will be the Chiefs. They'll be going to Arrowhead. And I'm sure the Chiefs remember that beatdown because that's what it was. It was a beatdown that they gave them the last time they played. I mean, Buffalo just came and just dismantled them. And a lot of it had to do with Buffalo wanting revenge for what happened during the playoffs last year in the AFC Championship game. A lot of it had to do with the Chiefs having a brand new offensive line, them trying to figure out what they're going to do, how to do things. They've been a completely different team, and Patrick Mahomes has been a completely different quarterback. I think at that point he had, I believe it was 12 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and since then he had 22 touchdowns and 4 interceptions since that point. So he's been a completely different quarterback as far as he's doing, and his passer rating went from 88 to 106. So he's been a completely different guy as far as what his ratings and what he's doing now compared to then. They have to go to Arrowhead, and I do believe that the Chiefs probably. I don't know if bye. I think there's nothing better than a bye. I think the bye, giving you a week off for your body to rest, to heal, take care of all those little aches and pains that you will get during the football season. Probably helps, but I think the Chiefs needed this to be because they started slow, and they're a notorious slow starter in the playoffs and have been always. And I think that helped them being able to start off slow. And the best thing happened to them was the fumble for a touchdown recovery by T.J. Watt, who more than deserved the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. He's a monster. Okay, he's an absolute beast. And so anyway, he deserved the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. He was absolutely amazing. He just handled his business. The Chiefs had no answer for him until after that. Then I think Patrick Mahomes had an answer for him because if you'll notice, when you're watching the game, Patrick Mahomes starts going at TJ. So if TJ went wide, he slid underneath, got out of the pocket, and was hitting Travis down the field or whoever he needed to hit down the field. So Patrick kind of figured out what TJ was doing, and instead of worrying about him so much, he goes, okay, big boy, if you come in, I'm going to go out. If you go out, I'm going to go underneath, and I'm going to do what I need to do to get you off balance. Then once he did that, TJ was kind of ineffective because he didn't really know what to do one way or another. So Mahomes did a good job of counteracting what he was doing because Nate clearly or Wiley was clearly overmatched when it came to trying to block TJ Watt, which he found out what most tight ends or what most offensive tackles found out. He's pretty much unblockable. And then the Chiefs, of course, ended up adding a tight end to kind of help with the backside and worrying about or the front side of Patrick Mahomes to help with that. But anyway, it's going to be a great game this weekend. I do believe the Chiefs are going to win. I think the Chiefs are on a mission to get back to the Super Bowl after that beatdown that they took by Tampa Bay last year. Now, they are a completely different team. Their offensive line is rebuilt, but I think the players are more anxious, more prepared, more focused, more hungry, kind of like they were the year before when they got beat by the New England Patriots on that all sides. You know, it's just funny to me. Every time Tom Brady throws an interception or something happens in a big game, it's always a penalty against the other team, so he has another shot. It absolutely amazes me how that happens. But anyways, I digress. Anyway, so I think the Chiefs are going to handle their business against the Bills. I think it's going to be a great game, but I do believe the Chiefs are going to come out victorious in that game. Now, on the other side, you have the Titans, the number one seed, sitting waiting for the winner between the Raiders and Cincinnati, and kudos to Cincinnati for getting a playoff win. I think it had been 30 years or something ridiculous since they had a playoff win, and kudos to their fans. It's cold in Cincinnati, and those fans were braving the cold. They were there supporting their team, kind of like the Bills fans did for so long when the Bills, after Marv Levy quit, and they lost Bruce Smith and Jim Kelly, and of course our boy Thurman Thomas. Those fans kept coming to the games, even though they were losing. Support them, kind of like the Cleveland Brown fans. You support your team, you support your team, you support your team, you support your team. Kind of like what the Thunder's doing now. I'm happy about our fans are doing the same thing. Coming back and supporting your team, supporting your team, supporting your team. You have an NBA franchise. Support your team. They have NFL franchises. They're supporting your team. That's what you do, okay? You support the team that you have. And I want to say kudos to our fans, but to those Cincinnati fans, the beautiful thing about the NBA and the reason why I did play basketball, it's not cold outside. It's nice. It's 70 degrees inside. It feels good. That's why I play basketball. One of the reasons why I played instead of playing football, it was just too cold out there. If you want to call me a little wimp, fine. You want to act like I'm acting like a little whatever, fine. Yeah, you're right. I wanted to play inside where it was nice and warm, okay? But anyway, the kudos to those fans staying with the team, supporting them even though they were terrible. I mean, the Bengals were terrible for a long, long time. But congratulations to them for getting that win. Derek Carr, Derek Carr. Bro, how do you not get it in 4 cracks in the end zone and you don't get it in? I don't know if it's the offensive play calling that they had. I don't know if it was you not being able to see what was going on. I'm not sure what exactly happened. But, bro, you needed to get that ball in the end zone. And if you do that, it goes in overtime, or you can go for 2 for the W. But anyway, Cincinnati's defense did a great job of holding down at the end with no penalties, unlike when they beat the Chiefs. No reason why they kept going on and on. It seemed like the Chiefs are going to keep getting penalties called on them until Cincinnati won the game. Because I do believe had the 4th down that turned over the first time, Patrick Mahomes gets the ball with a minute left or 50-something seconds, I do believe he could have drove the field, got the Chiefs in at least field goal range, kind of like what he did against the AFC Championship game against Tom Brady in New England. When Brady comes down, gets the offsides, throw a pick, game should have been over. They called offsides. They go score. They're up 3. Mahomes drives them down the field in 40 seconds, gets the field goal, sends it over to never touches the ball again. So I do believe had he got the ball, that the Chiefs would have drove the field, if not scored, at least got 3 points to send the game into overtime. So I do believe that happened. But Cincinnati did win. The Raiders, They played their hearts out considering all the mistakes they made. But, you expected Cincinnati to be nervous. I mean, it's their first playoff game. I mean, those fans were crazy. But I will say this about their fans. They were absolutely fantastic supporting their boys. It was loud. They were crazy. They were rowdy. I mean, it was nice. I do love it because I love our crowd when we're like that. At Paycom Center now, and I play in the Gallagher Rival, which is the best arena ever. And I can tell you, our fans were rabid. They were insanely crazy, and I love that. And it caused us to win a lot of games simply because we may have been flat, but the fans picked us up. So anyway, now the Titans against Cincinnati. I don't give Cincinnati a whole lot of chance to win the game. I think they're going to be competitive, but I don't know if they can pull that victory off. But I do believe it's going to be a good game, but I do believe the Titans, especially if they get Derrick Henry back, that might help them, but then it also might hurt them because they had a nice chemistry going these last 9 games without him. So that, sometimes you bring a player back, it's not necessarily as great as you might think it is because it disrupts the chemistry that the team had. But that being said, if I have a choice between having Derrick Henry or not having Derrick Henry, give me Derrick Henry. Okay? That's not even up for discussion. Give me Derrick Henry. So if I have the choice between that, Derrick, not Derrick, Derrick. So that's going to be a good game, but I do believe the Titans are going to win. I think they're going to come off, even though I would like Cincinnati to beat them, the Chiefs to have another home game for the AFC Championship for the 3rd year in a row. And fourth year in a row. All 4 years Patrick Mahomes has been the quarterback. They have reached the AFC Championship game. So I would like to see Cincinnati come to Kansas City and in Kansas City have a redemptive game and bust their butts in Kansas City. So I would like to see that, but in all reality, I do believe it's going to be Kansas City going to Nashville to play the Tennessee Titans, which is going to be a great game, but I think the Chiefs will come up because if I have a choice between Tannehill and Mahomes, I'm going to take Mahomes in that. Now, on the other side of it, you have the 49ers against Tampa Bay since, 49ers against Green Bay. Tampa Bay does not know who they're going to play yet because, fortunately, tonight there is a NFL Monday Night Football game in the playoffs, and it's going to be great between the Cardinals and anyway. I'm torn with this game. The Cardinals have not been playing well. The Rams haven't been playing that well either. But I'm kind of torn because I'm a huge Kyler Murray fan. So I'm kind of torn what I want to do with that game. I like Sean McVay, and I like the Rams, even though they should not have been in the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. That was clearly a pass interference in New Orleans. And New Orleans was clearly the better team of the two, but sometimes officials, they inadvertently or on purpose get in the way of games, umpires, and we'll talk about that later with the Cowboys game. But anyway, that being said, I want to say that this game right here, there's only been one team to lose a home game all deal, and that was Dallas last night. So yesterday. I'm going to have to go with the Cardinals. I'm going to go with Kyler. Texas boy, Oklahoma boy, so I'm going to have to go with him. I'm not sure. I'm not too sold on Matt Stafford. He's been pretty much a disappointment compared to what everybody thought he was going to be. He hasn't done the job that I thought that he would do and taking over for the Rams, because the Rams has a great defense. I mean, the only thing they were really missing is a quarterback. And they should have beat the 49ers, and the 49ers shouldn't even been in the playoffs, but they choked. Matt Stafford had a horrible game, which I think he's going to respond back and have a better game. But at the same time, neither one of these teams are playing very good. So I don't think whoever wins is not going to matter. I don't think either one of these teams are going to go into Tampa Bay and beat the Buccaneers and Tom Brady at home. I don't see it. But if anybody has a chance, it probably would be the Rams, simply because their defensive unit. On the other side of that, the Cardinals, they got J.J. Watt back today. or they have J.J. Watt back playing. That might help them, but their defense has been beat up, and I just I just don't know how good they're going to be. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead and go with Kyler, and then them going to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers. But I'm just not sure. I'm just gonna go ahead and take it and just say it. Okay, I'm gonna take him. I'm gonna stick to my guns and do that. And then of course later on this week, I will give my breakdown of who I think is gonna win. At the end, I'm gonna talk about both. I'm gonna talk about everything tomorrow about the 4 games, but I'm gonna be gentle, or I'm gonna be methodical and be thoughtful and slow and not really come up with my answer right now for that. But I do believe that the Cardinals will be playing Tampa Bay in that other game. So you have the Bills at the Chiefs. You have the Bengals at the Titans. You have the 49ers at Green Bay. And then, of course, the winner of this game hopefully is going to be the Cardinals versus Tampa Bay. And then the winners of those games, I will give that, even though my early picks are, like I said, the Chiefs over the Bills, the Titans over Cincinnati. But I'm going to give a better breakdown later on in this week on once I really get into it and start looking at both teams. But just off the top of my head, I'm going to pick that. And then I'm going to pick Tampa Bay over the Cardinals and Green Bay for sure. Even though I think it's going to be a tougher game. Green Bay seems to have a hard time with San Francisco in the playoffs for some reason. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, ever than like 3 years ago, I think he had a fantastic game against them and still got beat. So I don't know about Green Bay, how good they are going to be able to stop the run for Kyle Shanahan, and he's just a magnificent head coach and offensive coordinator and offensive guru. He's really, really good. But anyway, those are my picks, and then I think that if I had to do my early Super Bowl picks, I believe that the Chiefs will beat the Titans in Nashville and go on to play the Super Bowl. And I do believe Aaron Rodgers will finally get there and go against Patrick Mahomes, which is something that we did not see early in the year because he was out. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. I'd like to see Aaron Rodgers against Patrick Mahomes. Both of them only having one Super Bowl win. Both of them going for their second Super Bowl win. So that would be a great matchup to see. So anyway, on top of that, so the next subject I want to talk about is my OSU Cowboys. I did not expect them to go and get that home victory, even though I had said that in my heart, I believed that they would get the win. But in my mind, I didn't necessarily believe that they would because Baylor had just got beat by Tech at home. And then they were coming to Stilly, which is one of the hardest places to win a football game, or win a basketball game, and one of the harder places to play basketball. So I figured that Oklahoma State would bounce back and get the W, would get beat. But my heart said, yes, I'm going to pick them, and I did. And guess what? I'm glad I went with my heart because great upset win. And this team of ours that we have at Oklahoma State is up and down. I know that they are young, and I know that they are sometimes very frustrating to watch. Simply because sometimes maybe it's just the game who they're playing because they beat Texas at home, they beat Baylor at home, lost to Kansas because Bill Self usually is terrible in Stillwater when he has a great team. Usually we beat them, and his team is okay this year. It's not as great as he's had in the past, and then they come in and get the W in Stilly, which, by the way, I believe that during Bill Self's tenure, the only place he's had a losing record is in Stillwater and Gallagher-Iba, which is a compliment to our team and what we do for that. So, but anyway, I wanted to come back and talk about the GOAT. Told everybody that the lead-up would be I'm going to talk about what is the GOAT? What is the greatest of all time? So we're going to take a break, and I'll be right back to talk about that. Okay, everybody, and welcome back to the Unpopular Hour. And this is one of the reasons why we're going to be calling it the Unpopular Hour. as we're going to talk about the GOAT. Next week, our topic on Monday, every Monday, we're going to try to bring up something to give you a little enlightenment and probably cause a little controversy. But next week, we're going to talk about what is the difference between beating a record and breaking a record. Now, media today, they just come out and they go, oh, he broke this record. Oh, he broke that record. No, he beat the record. He did not break the record. So anyway, we're going to talk about the difference between beating a record and breaking a record, because those are two completely different things. But of course, the media today, they want hype and they want some, Twitter followers, and they want all these things on Twitter to say all these different things. So anyway, that's what they do. They come up and they say all these crazy things, kind of what I'm going to be talking about when we talk about the greatest of all time, which we're getting ready to discuss. Okay, the Athletic in football. I don't even know what to say about this. The greatest of all time. This is the Athletic's greatest of all time football list in order. Tom Brady, Jim Brown, Jerry Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White. Now, right off the top of my head, what is the thing that sticks out to you about this list? There's only one quarterback on this list, A. Okay? And I can't give him the number one slot. And this is why. He is the only one of these 5 people who are playing in today's generation, in today's game, where it's soft as cotton candy. Now, the other 4 played when football was football. But you're going to give the top slot to a quarterback who we all know quarterbacks are the softest position on the field, and make him the greatest of all time over these guys. There's no way. And my main problem with this whole thing with Tom Brady being the greatest of all time quarterback is, and they all say, oh, well, he's 44 years old and look what he's doing. He can't be touched. You can't hit him. Of course he can be 44. And with nutrition and everything they're doing now, yes, he's the greatest of this generation, without a doubt, but not of all time. He can't be the greatest of all time. It's impossible. Because the average age quarterback back in the day when they could put their hands on him was 32 to 34. And they were completely shells of themselves by then. Because they got the crap beat out of them. You can't tell me that Tom Brady would have won 7 Super Bowls if he played in the area of Mean Joe Green and the Raiders and those guys. No way. You're high. Whatever you're smoking, give me some of it, because you are delusional. It's impossible. He would not be playing this long. You cannot give somebody and say they're the greatest of all time, period, and they're playing a soft generation. Now, with these other guys, I'm going to say something about this. Jerry Rice, to me, I'm going to go down the list. Tom Brady has one thing. He's playing until he's 44 and he has 7 Super Bowls. That's why they're giving him the greatest. But he's playing in a generation where he can't be touched. So how can that really, really be the greatest when you can't be touched? I can't pick you up and throw you on the top of your head. I can't do that. Sorry. I have to put in a Bart Starr or a Joe Montana or even a Troy Aikman or somebody like that in front of you, because they played when football was football. Okay? Not when football is the way it is right now, but they played when football was football. And there's no way in the world that Tom Brady would be 44 years old playing in the 70s or in the 60s or in the 50s, well, maybe 50s, but the 60s, the 70s, especially the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. No, he would not be. And you guys, all you Brady fans, you know what I'm saying. You know it's the truth. He would not be. Because his body would not be able to be held up. None of their bodies could, because they were getting killed. Do you remember Troy Aikman's first year with the Cowboys? He got annihilated. I don't know how he survived. I don't know how he turned out to be one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history, how he got the 3 Super Bowls, considering he got beat up the way he did. I don't know that. You know, you look at Bart Starr. They won 3 championships in 5 years. Troy Aikman won 3 and 4. Okay, those are impressive things, but I can't give it to him. And then when you go down to Jim Brown set the record 9 years, 12,000 yards, in the amount of games that he played. When you look at that, there's no way that he's not the greatest running back simply because of that. Now, Barry Sanders, man, I got to stick him up there right there with him because they're only two to average 5 yards to carry. So, do I put Jim Brown up there? Could Jim Brown play today? Oh, yeah. 6'2", 220, 4.4 speed? Sure. The closest thing to Jim Brown we saw was, oh my God, my mind just went blank. Bo Jackson is the closest thing to Jim Brown that we've ever seen. And Bo Jackson was basically unstoppable, and had he not been a two-sport athlete and just concentrated on football, who knows what kind of records he could have set had he just concentrated on football and not been a dual-sport athlete. Okay? Third guy on the list, Jerry Rice. Okay? You look at Jerry Rice. He played when you could get grabbed, you could get hit, you come across the middle, you get your head taken off. And he's got records that still stand today. They still stand today. When you can't get grabbed, they can't touch you after 5 yards, they can't put their hands on you, they can't take your head off when you're coming across the middle. He went across the middle anyway. I'm sorry, anybody in today's generation, you can't be put on one of the greatest of all time. You can't. Now, you can be put in the top 100. I could put Tom Brady in the list of the greatest quarterbacks. Yes. But of all the quarterbacks, no. I can't do it because you didn't play when you could get your head taken off. Jim Brown did. He played when black people and white people, they weren't the nicest to black people at that particular time, and the things they did to him that he had to suffer through. And he still did what he did. He got up after play, never missed a game, played every game. Greatest of all time. They don't miss games. They play all games. Jerry Rice, still, to this day, he's got records nobody else can break. And he played when you could get hit. He played when you could hold. He played when the rules were rules. Not like now. Can you imagine him playing now? You can't touch him? Please. LT. I don't even know what to say about him. To me, I got to put him as the greatest of all time. I just do, because he revolutionized this position. There are no other LTs. And one thing about these guys, there will never be another Jim Brown. There will never be another Jerry Rice. There definitely will never be another Lawrence Taylor. That's not happening. Now, it may be years down the road we might find somebody, but that guy, the way he was, no, that's not happening. Okay? That's not happening. I just don't see it. And then the last one, Reggie White. Reggie White was an absolute monster, okay? He could just dominate a game. Completely dominate a game. I mean, just dominate. It's just what he was. Now, the one thing about this list is that it's got 3 offense and 2 defense. But the two defensive guys, Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White, man, can you argue about either one of those? Can you really? Could they play in today's game? Yes. And my thing is always this. Playing in today's game in the NBA, Major League Baseball, and football are completely different than playing back in the day. Now I hear these pundits talking about LeBron and blah, 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 and Michael and all that, and we're going to discuss that in a minute too. But today's game, as soft as it is, I don't want to hear it about any of you guys talking about how these guys could be the greatest. No, you're the greatest of this generation because you can't be touched. You can't be hit. You can take games off. You can do this. Yeah, no, I can't. But like I said, do I put Tom Brady as one of the top 5 quarterbacks, 3, somewhere around there? No doubt. But I can't put him above those guys who play when they got their heads taken off. Can't do it. Jerry Rice, no question, can play today, then, now, whatever. Lawrence Taylor, today, then, right, whatever. Jim Brown, today, then, right, whatever. Reggie White, today, then, whatever. Those guys can do whatever. Tom Brady, no. He's not going to do what he does right now, then. He can only do what he does today, not then. So you cannot be the greatest of all time if you can't do what you do in any era. The greatest of all time means any era. Now, these idiots that talk about all this stuff today, that's just talking points. They want you to come up and talk to them. They want you to, give them tweets and all this nonsense. They want to do whatever the networks say because it's popular. Oh, Tom Brady, whatever. Stop it. You can't be the greatest of all time because that means every era. He's not going to be 44 years old playing in the 70s. They didn't have nutrition. They didn't have all the things, and you couldn't touch him. Even if they had the nutrition, he still wouldn't be standing right up because look who was in his division. Okay? Go back and look. He was going against the Steel Curtain. They won 4 in the 70s. He was going against the Raiders. They won 2. Really? Not happening. I'm sorry. It's just not. In the 90s, you're going against the Bills. Okay? You got Bennett on one side. You got arguably one of the greatest defensive ends on the other side. And we know Bruce Smith. We already know who he was. So what do you think Bruce would have did to Tom Brady? Why don't you ask John Elway about Bruce Smith? Why don't you ask Dan Marino about Bruce Smith? And all of those guys made it to 34, 30, and they had to be done because the bodies just could not hold up because of the brutality of the beatings that they took because they could get hit. They could get slammed. So stop it. I don't want to hear it. Stop it. Now, that being said, I talked to my boy PJ Mills. We had this discussion about the greatest of all time. And he said that football is the one sport that you can't have a greatest of all time, period. Now, you can have a greatest of positions, but you can't have you could have the greatest quarterbacks, you could have the greatest running backs, you could have the greatest linemen, you could have the greatest receivers, you could have the greatest defensive linemen, you could have the greatest defensive backs, the greatest linebacker. He goes, but you can't have the greatest of all time in football because it's 22 spots. And if you're on offense, you didn't tackle. And if you're on defense, you didn't score points. You didn't score touchdowns, you didn't run for yards, you didn't do any of that. So he made a good point to me, saying that you have to have a greatest of all time in positional football, not in individual football overall. That's what he says. And it kind of makes sense because if you're on offense, how do you tackle? You can score points, but you can't tackle and you can't stop the other team from tackling because you ain't on the field when they're on the field. So unless you're a two-way player doing both, he said that's the only way you can do it is if you're a two-way player playing on both sides. And he has a magnificent point. So going down the list on that, like I said, I would have to do Bart Starr, probably Joe Montana, John Elway, probably. Then I'd probably put Tom Brady in there. Then after that, running backs would be Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, without question. Wide receivers would be Jerry Rice for sure. And then after that, I know that he gets a lot of hate, but T.O. was a beast. And so I'd have to put T.O. out there on my sides. Offensive linemen, there's just so many of them. I can't really pick one if I had to. Just one position or one guy on the offensive line, probably Art Shell if you had to hold my feet to the fire. On the defensive line, I would probably take LT over Reggie White. Linebackers, of course, I got to take Dick Butkus because of what he did. Or I would take Ray Lewis after that, but one of those two. Defensive backs are real simple. It's Deion Sanders. And then if I have to have a safety, it's going to be Ronnie Lott. So if I've got to do it that way, the greatest all time positionally, I'm going to do it that way. So defensive backs would be Deion Sanders and Ronnie Lott. And then defensive line would obviously be Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White. And then linebackers would be Ray Lewis and Dick Butkus. So if I had to have two per spot, that's kind of what I would do. I don't know how you guys would feel, but that's kind of how I look at it. Now, when it comes to basketball, to me, there's just no debate. Even though these young people come up and try to throw LeBron in there, I can't throw LeBron in there. Bro, you miss games on purpose. These people pay a lot of money to come. You go to a city expected to see you, and you don't play. I'm sorry. I can't give it to you for that. You're trying to be. Your goal is to break records. Your goal is to be the all-time leading scorer. That is your goal. So you're preserving your body. You're hurting other fans by not giving kids who their parents don't have a lot of money. So they're going to that one game to see LeBron James play. And you don't play. Because whatever. And we all know you're preserving your body because your ultimate goal is to be the all-time leading scorer. But you're not the greatest of all time. You're not feared. You're not feared. Michael was feared. Kobe was feared. Bro, you ain't feared. Nobody's afraid of you. I mean, they know you don't get some stuff, yeah, but they ain't really afraid of you. When you talk about older guys, they'll tell you straight up, they ain't afraid of you. Now, the one guy we're talking about, Blues, Tracy McGrady, he was like, okay, he played against all three. And this was his comment. And he said, LeBron, I played against. Kobe, played against. Michael, played against. Michael, Kobe, and LeBron, all three are going to get theirs on offense because they're just monsters and there's nothing you can do to stop them. He goes, now, the difference is, flip the script. Defensively, Michael and Kobe are in my grill like, bro, what you going to do now? You going to get yours? I just got mine on you. What you going to do? He said, that's the difference between the two. Okay, or between the three of them. So he goes, I'm going to get what I get against LeBron because LeBron ain't going to stop me. So I can't give LeBron no credit for that. He would not be old as he is doing what he's going to do back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Wasn't going to happen. So, and X him. Baseball. Baseball is hard because I think baseball is like football. I think, PJ's thing was right. I think baseball is like football. It's hard to put a guy as the greatest of all time. But if I had to, it'd probably be either Babe Ruth, Willie Mays, DiMaggio, Hank Aaron, and Barry Bonds. Even though I know people talk about Bonds, but he was great before the steroid deal and all of that nonsense. He was a great, great player before that. So in baseball, that would be my list on that. Now, before I end this, I got to talk about the Cowboys debacle yesterday. Dak Prescott, you got to know how much time it is. You got to know that you got to hand the ball to the official for him to place it. You got to know that. Larry Fitzgerald was the example to show everybody what to do. I forget what game it was earlier this year. The exact same thing happened. They did not hand it to the official. The clock ran out. They lost. That should have been a deal to everybody to let them know right there. So now is that on the quarterback solely? Is that on the whole offense solely? Or is that coaching? Or is it a combination? I'm going to give them both an F for that. Okay? But Dak, you've got to play better in the playoffs. You got to do what you got to do. You got to win games, son. But most of all, you have to know, hey, if you're going to take off and run, how much time I got to get down a little early. I got to give myself some time, even though 4 seconds should have been enough time. Had they handed the ball to the official, he probably would have been able to get the ball, spike the ball with 1 second left. But because they didn't, he had to move the ball, and it cost him. But the officials didn't review, which I thought sucked. They should have at least did that. They should have at least reviewed to make sure whether the time had elapsed or it did. But I just think they wanted the hell out of there, and it clearly they did that. So, but that's on Dak. And then on top of that, McCarthy, 2 years in a row you led the NFL in penalties. You had 14 yesterday at home. Now, I could see on the road when the crowd was loud, they caused you to do things, but you had false starts back-to-back. At home. How do you have false starts at home back-to-back? Really? Wow. Anyways, I just can't see that. Now, my last topic is going to be Antonio Brown. You can't come back and say, oh, Tom Brady's a true friend after you blasted him. You're full of it. The boy was going to get you your point. He was going to get you your yards. He was going to get you your $1 million. He went in with Gronk. Wouldn't come out the game so Gronk could get his one catch so he could get his bonus. You think Tom Brady wasn't going to make sure that you got 5 catches and a touchdown and so many yards? You think he wasn't going to get that for you with 2 games left? You think that was not going to happen? You're an idiot. You're an idiot on top of that because of what you did in New England, at Pittsburgh, then what you turn around and what you did at the Raiders. How you going to screw up on a Thursday if you stay on the deal till Tuesday? You get $30 million. And you going to scream around, I'm free. Yeah, you free of $30 million? Bruh, $30 million. That's gone. You're done. So, do I believe anything you say? No. You leave that out to your little Instagram followers, your little Twitter followers. You leave that to them. I'm out. And anybody with any sense should be out. Anyway, I'm done. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the show today. Remember, tonight is after the storm, after the Thunder game tonight. We'll be coming on immediately. I think the Thunder game's at 7:30 tonight, I believe. So I'll be on around 10 o'clock tonight, around 10:15 or so, depending on what time the game's in. And hopefully the Thunder will show up and be ready to play. Like I said, I love our team. I love what we're doing. And hopefully everybody will give them some love and some support tonight. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you for watching the Unpopular Hour. I'm your host, Matt Clark. And once again, happy Martin Luther King Day.